Hello everyone, and welcome to our program, Living Christian Strong. I'm Apostle Marshall Shirls. Tonight in studio we have one of my great friends, someone who I believe that God is using in a mighty way through praise and worship, who's multi-talented, a singer, a songwriter, someone who sings from the heart. I want you all to meet John Silva. John, thank you for being on our program and welcome to Living Christian Strong. You know, John and I go back a few years. He and I played in a band together, and I knew back then that God had a special place for him in music. His voice range is really just unbelievable. Later on in our program, John is actually going to perform a song for us that he wrote. And I want to let you hackers know right now that this is copywritten, so if you want the song, you need to contact Mr. Silva over it. Anyway, John, how have you been doing?
It's been sad, but it's also been happy, and then it's been sad, and then it's been happy. And so you always want to say that there's been highs and lows and valleys, but it's kind of been like down in the valley for a while. And I feel like being down there for that long has helped me to find joy around me, as opposed to what can God do for me to get me out of this hole? I go, this isn't really a hole. This is just the world. The world's broken.
The world's broken, yeah.
So it's the difference between realizing that you're locked in a cage and then going, hey, you know what? Cage isn't that bad.
Wow.
A lot of people use that as like, oh, that's Satan. You know, will trick you with it. To say this world is our cage, and until we're free, you know, we kind of have to go by the rules of the cage. Absolutely.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that. Most of the apostles back in the day, they were all locked in cages at one time or another. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes that's where you really get closer to God. Mm-hmm. And like I said, multi-talented. Some of the songs that I've heard this man write, you know, I feel like it's some of the times when you were really going through something and you reach down deep to pull something out. You know, a lot of the songs that he wrote, there was one I really love, I still listen to every now and then. It's actually called Solemn Witness. And I listen to the words of that song, of how, you know, encouraging that John is with his music. Now, at the time, you all were pregnant at the time, were you? Or were you wanting to have a child?
You know, these last 4 years, I want to say, have been such a blur. After my mom passed, I just kind of lost track of some time. Like, I didn't realize how much it was going to affect me, like her loss. So before that, like, I just remember being super happy, but also knowing that my mom had terminal cancer and taking care of her and dealing with you know, some other family issues that were very important. But it was I think it was after Solemn Witness and being in the band with you that we became pregnant. But it was 14 years that my wife and I had been praying and hoping for a baby. And we'd been to 3 different doctors, and they all were like, you just need to adopt. I had a little collection of transformers and different things that I had accumulated over the years. And
just a little collection?
By little, I mean 2,000. But I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't have much of a wardrobe, didn't eat that much. And so, in dual incomes, and so it was like, you know, my wife loves me very much, and I appreciate all that she tolerated back then.
You can say hi, Jenna. Hi, Jenna. And what's your daughter's name now?
It is Gwendolyn Iris Silva.
Gwendolyn Iris. That is a beautiful name. That sings. That sings. Hi, Gwendolyn. Daddy's on TV.
And Iris is actually Tennessee's state flower. I was not aware of that, but it also means God's promise, which is exactly what she was.
Hey.
We found out, that she was pregnant, my wife, and then everything just kind of fell into place. And my mom had 1 full year of getting to be a grandma before she passed.
Now I remember, we prayed a lot during that time, with Solemn Witness about you all's baby situation, wanting to have a baby. And I found since then that anybody that's ever wanted to have a child, when we get together and we start praying, God delivers. And right here was the first one that God promised us that would happen. Now, something I can tell you about John is he spent a lot of time taking care of his mom. You were the only one, really, if I remember.
No? She had a very good support group.
Okay.
But that being said, when I told her that I was going to be stepping away from the band to help with her more, she said thank you, because everyone had kind of gotten to that. It was becoming way too much. There were too many doctor's appointments. They needed somebody stronger. Like, as she was starting to fade and fail, like her body was failing her, she physically and literally leaned on me more.
Right.
So she's like, I really need you now. And so I would take her to doctor's appointments with my daughter strapped to my chest, pushing my mom in the wheelchair, helping her out of the car. And I will never forget those times. It was, seems like going to the doctor was the only time that I got to see her.
Right.
She was always very, very sick, and she had, when they found that she had stage 4 cancer, it was already in her bones. It moved into her hips and her back, and when she started getting tumors in her brain and her liver and things, that's when we knew it was towards the end, and she really needed help. But she had her family, that they love her so much, still do.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That you were there to that is awesome. Now, I know after Solemn Witness, the band dispersed, and I want you to know the music is still being played on internet radio all over the place and all over the world. And I've had some people ask about you and how you were doing, and I told them that they go on Facebook, check him out. He's doing really well. Now, we were discussing a little while ago, some dark times that you had to go through. One, of course, was losing your mom, and her transitioning from this life to the next. And you were telling me a little bit about a dark time at that time that you were having.
Yes. Somebody, in my family called me and told me that I basically should have done more and wasn't a good enough son, and I let those words affect me, and they put me in a dark place. And I feel like when that happens, I worry too much about what other people think about me. If I'm thinking about what Marshall's going to think, what my wife is going to think, and I'm not in his word, then I'm gonna I'm gonna fail, and then I'm gonna fall, and then I'm going to be in a dark place. Right. Because I can't do anything by myself, and I know that, and yet somehow I continually put myself there.
Right.
That's like the human condition, I guess, is just not believe that, oh, God loves me that much? He really went through all that just for me? Yes.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And it's just, what is my worth? And I'm like, everything. It was worth everything to him to come here and die on the cross for me and suffer, Yeah. And I think about people who are like, oh, he died on the cross. I was like, the cross wasn't what really killed him. It was the beating that the Romans gave him before, because they were like, they're going to let him free. No, they did not let him free. Yeah. They were like, oh my gosh, they're really going to kill him.
Yeah, I think they intended to beat him to death. That's what I believe. And, of course, the Bible does say that when he walked out of the tomb that they didn't even recognize him, because when they put him in the tomb, he was just basically a hunk of meat. I mean, he just, his flesh was falling off of him. They pulled his beard out, and if you look at our beards, you rip out a beard, you're going to get flesh as well. So, yeah, he took a serious beating. It's not like, I know Mel Gibson got as close to what it was really like than anybody in the movie Passion of Christ, but it still is not what Jesus went through for us.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying that you reached out, and I hear you say that a lot. You reach out. You don't wait for God to reach for you. You're reaching out to Him. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
No. I guess I don't know.
I love John's sense of humor. He's always had one.
Go ahead and rephrase that question.
How can I rephrase it?
I wrap my brain around it.
Well, what I'm seeing is, when you're in that place, you're not waiting on somebody to come make you feel good. You're not waiting for that word to come make you feel good. You reach out to God yourself and say, hey, this is the situation. And something that I've always noticed about you is you don't sugarcoat the situation. You deal with it as it is. Which I saw something here not too long ago that sugarcoating a message from God will give you truth decay. So
I like that.
But
I think for me, when I go back into it, I've always gone back to my Bible, and then I'll read something and it'll affect me, and then I'll hop on the Google.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are some other things and this other teachings, and then it's like the positive, wormhole where all of a sudden it's like you're like learning all these things about something that you never really even thought about, and so God will reveal. But it's always come back to, I read my Bible, and then God will reveal something to me that's in my heart that I need to work on, and then I will go to music, and that is my, I don't want to say escape, but that is my love language. Like when I write songs, it's not, hey, this is about me. This is a love song to Christ. And
that's and we can see that. And like I said, you're going to hear that here in just a few minutes. In one of the songs that he wrote is, and I hope it's okay to say it like this, but you can tell that you are in love with Jesus. You can tell that by the way you play, the way you sing. It's just heartfelt. And if you can't feel that through his singing, your wood's wet. Something's very wrong with you. And I don't mean that in a derogatory, well, maybe I do mean that in a derogatory way, but you have to understand who this gentleman is. I mean, this is John Silva. Now, most of you all say, well, who is John Silva? You're about to find out. I'm blowing you up. You won't be disappointed. Listen, and pastors, those pastors that are watching right now, I'm going to put up a number later on for you, or contact us to contact Mr. Silva. Listen, if you want a true blessing, someone who will come in and just lift the roof with the power of Almighty God through praise and worship. If I can tell a story real quick, there was a service we did to help a charity, and we switched from the original songs that we had wrote to singing the praise and worship songs. And during that segment of our music, people got more out of the praise and worship. And we followed you a lot during that time. We followed what you did, you and Terry. You had this flow, and we would follow you, and we'd get in that flow, and the power of God would just move, and you could see it. So I'm talking too much. Anyway, what is it about do you think about your singing to the Lord that is that deep, that can help somebody?
I think of it this way, as somebody who's like an aspiring worship leader, and you want to get like the idiots guide to being a worship leader, and I'm exaggerating, but it was a How to Be a Worship Leader book that I started reading, and this I'm going to mess this story up, but I'm paraphrasing in a very, very liberal way. This guy's on the way home from worship practice with his wife, and he's talking to her, and he's like, why am I even here? Why am I doing this? Like, you can't hear me for one. I'm not doing that good. I could serve in another way that is going to be, way more beneficial to the body than me just being up there like mumbling and and his wife is like, is that really what you think that you do? You just mumble? He's like, no, but I feel that way sometimes. She goes, oh, well, do you think there are any doctors in heaven? Lawyers in heaven? What do you think you're going to be doing in heaven? And he's like, praising. Yes, you're doing the job that you were made to do already. So whenever you think that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you're praising him, and that's what we were made to do. So you're just bypassing where everybody has to kind of get to that point, and then you're coming to the altar, and you're so if you're off key, who cares? It's joyful noise for a reason. Banging, clanging cymbals and all that. It's biblical.
Yes, it is. Isn't it? And I've had preachers and some pastors say, well, you shouldn't have drums in church. I'm sorry, the Bible says to make a joyful noise even on the high cymbal. Mm-hmm. And I know my cymbals. So, but now, what really inspires you when you get a song? Do you get a complete song, or do you get it through scriptures you're reading, or how does it come about?
It's funny how I really don't have an answer for that, because it happens different ways. It's okay. I could just be playing something on guitar, and then like a melody will pop into my head, and then I'm like, well, we'll just record this, put it on the back burner, and then a year later I'm looking through my Bible and reading and going, I think I have a melody. This would really fit into the song that I wrote last year. Wow. And they'll go together. The song that you had mentioned earlier, Solemn Witness, half of that song was something that I had written a very long time ago and had no idea what to do with, and then joining Solemn Witness band and finishing, and writing that, it was like, okay, this just kind of fleshed itself out, and I didn't really do much. So a lot of it is creative, but it's here first. It's wow. Not, it's not me and then going, how can I back this up with the Bible?
That's what a lot of preachers do.
Yeah, I'm just going to take 18 verses out of this, and put them in a weird way that, doesn't actually mean what it means, to get my point across.
Yeah, they're awesome songs. Just about every song I've ever heard that you've written has just blown me away. I've only written one good song that I know of, and it took me 5 or 6 years to write it, so I can understand that. But
well, Never Surrender.
Yeah, Never Surrender was a good song. It was, and you actually brought a new light to that song. I will never record that song again the way that you did it. That was absolutely the way that I had dreamed of it being sung, being played, everything about that song. And for those of you that's still listening to Solemn Witness, it's that song went #1 on internet radio in May of 2014, and the album Christian Strong literally stayed on the charts for 27 weeks. I don't know. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
It stayed on the charts on internet radio for 27 weeks.
I do know that it got played a couple times on the local rock station until it switched over to country, because that's what Knoxville, Tennessee needed. Yeah. Was another country.
Another country.
The Duke. But that's okay. I never got to hear myself on the radio, but other people did. So that was one of the bucket list things.
Yeah, okay. You were definitely played on the radio several times. Oz Kirk, if you're watching, thank you again. Another great person that helped us out back then. I'm going to take a quick break here, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to hear John and listen to a song that he wrote. And what's the name of this song?
Be With Me. And the ironic thing about that title was that I had this song written, and I started going to this church that I had no idea I was going to visit, and then went, and just the message that day was, just be with God. No matter what you're doing, whatever's going on with you, just ask God to be with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's basically my bridge. That's like my little, that's the heart of the song, really. Everything else is pretty much like you go through life, and things happen, and you deal with them, and how you deal with them kind of speaks to who you are and who you depend on.
Yeah.
And if you depend on yourself, then you're going to fall by the wayside, and these things are going to tear you apart. But if you cling to Him and you keep your eyes on what He's done for you, then you can sadly get through things that you never thought you could. Yeah.
Wow, that is awesome. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to listen to one of the songs that this great man of God has written, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk just a few more minutes with him. Now, this episode will end, but we're going to do another episode with John, if you don't mind, and we're going to talk about a few more things, and maybe even get him to play another song. I don't know, but here's John Silva.
Let me cry out to you, Lord, be with me. If I am to fall, let me fall on my knees and praise your name, your holy name, Jesus. Help me to let go of this shame. Help me to rise up from my pain. Help me to speak out and not be ashamed to praise your name, Jesus. If I am too hurt, let my hurt draw me close to you. Be with me. If I am to die, let me die to myself and praise your name, your holy name, Jesus. Help me to let go of this shame. Help me to rise up from my pain. Help me to speak out, to not be ashamed, to praise your name, your holy name, Jesus. Help me to let go of this shame. Help me to rise up from my pain. When I was at my worst, oh, you loved me first. loved me first. Be with me, Lord. Be with me, Lord. Be with me. Be with me. Be with me, Lord. Be with me, Lord. Be with me. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Oh, knock, and the door will be open to you. Open to you. So just ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Oh, knock, and the door will be open to you. Small is the gate that leads to life.
That was an amazing song. That was beautiful. You know, listening to that, it reminds me today that there are people out there that need Jesus. And you know, as John said, you know, and we spoke about, all you got to do is reach out to him. All you have to do is call on him. If you don't know Jesus, today is a good day to know him. Let us introduce you to him. It's a simple prayer. You just say, Jesus, I am a sinner in need of a Savior. I need you to come into my heart today and change everything there is about me. I surrender my life to you. From this day forward, Lord, live within me and let me live for you. Now, if you said that prayer, we'd like for you to go to our website, which is right here on the screen at kcministries.org. I want you to let us know that you have changed your heart, that God has done something in your life. Let us know that John's song touched you. Let this man know that, you know, God is doing amazing things with him, and we'll make sure he gets the message. Okay, so go to kcministries.org. I'm Apostle Marshall Shirls. John, we'll see you on the next episode, right? I'm Apostle Marshall Shirls of King's Chalice Ministries. We'll see you on the next episode of Living Christian Strong. Hi, I'm Apostle Marshall Shirls of King's Chalice Ministries and host of Living Christian Strong. Do you have a story that you'd love to tell about how God has actually worked in your life and how God has changed your life? We'd love to talk to you about that and possibly have you on our program, Living Christian Strong. If you would contact us here at kcministries.org, tell us a little bit about yourself and your story. We would love to talk to you more about it. Again, my name is Apostle Marshall Shirls of King's Chalice Ministries. See you on our next episode.